Hello everyone, today we're going to be getting back to our roots with the Summa Logicae. We'll be covering chapter 24 on property, which is the fourth of the 5 predicables of porphyry. First, a definition. Anything which belongs to some common notion taken universally, and to all items underneath that notion. So this is any genus or any species, and it's a thing which is not identical to the species, but which is always with just that species and not any others. The examples of this will follow shortly, but first, there's just something quick to note. There is an identical extension between the property and the universal it belongs to, the genus or species that it belongs to, but they're not the same thing. So you can define things by properties. You'll pick out every member of humanity by saying a property of humanity, like risibility or something, but you will not properly define it because you'll define it using a property rather than using its essential definition. Now some examples. Risibility and grammatical. Risibility is the ability to laugh, and it comes from being a rational creature and one that is able to be surprised. These two things in conjunction make a person capable of laughing. Next is grammatical. This is the ability to learn languages, because humans are able to learn symbols and produce them. You can acquire culture from other people. Then finally, location. This is more specific to Occam. The first two slides you could apply to any conversation of the universals, but this location where the universal exists is specific to Occam. He thinks that it exists in the mind, not in the thing, because if it was in the thing, then it would not be a universal. And then he also draws a distinction between intrinsic and extrinsic properties or predicates. And the example he gives is the difference between God as creative and God as immutable. God as creative is an extrinsic predication. God is able to create things that are outside himself, whereas God as immutable is an intrinsic predicate. God being immutable is something about the kind of like the inside of God's nature, whereas God as creative is about other things that God is capable of producing that are not himself. Yeah, I hope you learned something.